welcome to Trend Talks. Today I have the pleasure and honor to speak with Bernard Schütz. He is head of utility services at SMA Technology, and he is a very senior technical expert with more than 20 years of international experience in global power generating industry.
Thank you very much, Edwin. Nice to be here.
Let's start with the first question. Looking at the current crisis, the pandemic and the economic impact of that, what do you see that reflected in your business into project development and asset management?
Yeah. So at first we didn't feel much in March, April, but then as travel restrictions set in worldwide, projects got delayed. Project developer weren't sure if they can travel and install the plants as planned, the projects. So we saw in Q2 to 2020, we saw quite some push outs on projects. Luckily we managed our supply chain very well. We hadn't had any problems on the supply side that we couldn't manage. We had alternative suppliers. So our production was always ready to deliver. And on the service side, now we are catching up. It's like Q4 has to speed up to gain back what we lost in Q2. But overall, we're going to finish the year as we planned. So we are quite happy. And a lot of our customers somehow have worked around the limitation of the pandemic, and people in the field are working and installing panels and inverters. So it's quite moving along. In Q4, we have a good outlook to finish the year on a positive note.
Do you also forecast that 2021 will be a good year like this?
And that's maybe the best coming out of this pandemic. A lot of government have put in stimulation packages for the industry, in big investments, cheap credits, and in Europe, at least in Europe, they want to focus on that investment being used in a sustainable way. So we see a lot of new projects popping up that's related from power to gas, power to heat, but also a lot of new storage projects, specifically in Northern Europe, Ireland, and the US is booming with storage projects to stabilize the grid. So we see that our devices are suitable for both. So we see increased participation of storage projects now gaining track in the market. And 2021, if the outlook holds what we plan for 2021, we had a growth. The numbers look like 10 to 15% this year. We aim for about 15 to 20% next year in service.
Wow, that's pretty positive and good to hear. And if we specify more on the asset management, also the where you're in specialized, what do you see as the key trends for asset management?
We just closed out a big deal in the US, the biggest deal in SMA history with Brookfield Renewable Energy. Brookfield is a pure investor. They are risk adverse, and we made them a fixed price, including all the risk from our side. And that's what they go for. And I see that the market is split in more do-it-yourself customers that don't want to depend much on suppliers. But then there's the other kind of player emerging from the traditional power industry that's now investing in renewable. Now we are bankable. And now these investors bring with them their risk avertiveness. So they are looking for suppliers that can take on risk and shield the investors from any negative impact on the asset. So asset performance, asset availability, asset performance guarantees are really high valued in the market. And it was a unique selling point for us that we could basically onboard all the risk on our side and shield the investor from any negative impact in the future. So it's performance guarantees, availability guarantees, and at the end with bonus malus. So if we do well, we're going to have a part of the pie. And if we don't do well, we're going to have to pay our share as well.
Yeah, but it also sounds like if you're taking up more of the risks, that this is only feasible and capable for companies at your size to pick up and take up these kind of risks. And does that imply a further consolidation of the market in terms of asset management?
Yeah, we see a huge consolidation. As I said, traditional service players are now entering with a harder push than the renewable markets. Before it was something for the guys, for the fantasies, for the renewable hippies that are playing with solar and wind. But now it's getting professional, and these professional players, they now have we saw First Solar in the US building a new pure service company, asset management company. The market is getting consolidated on the service side. The pressure is still high to lower cost. And that's the direction where we are going. Just if you keep on developing with technology, bringing digital into service, reducing cost, reducing truck rolls to site and monitoring, improve your monitoring, your predictive maintenance capabilities, that's where the market's going to go. And with an increase of players in the market, you also get new complexities. You get technology gets more complex, you add storage, you add plant management, you get new grid restrictions. So the complexity of a system, it's not just installing an inverter, it's maintaining it and optimizing it. That complexity is going to be asked for in the market for service provider to provide that. And there's going to be investors that pay good money for that.
You were touched upon the growth of storage. Do you see more opportunities and trends other than storage in solar project development?
Definitely. Now with the surge of hydrogen as the new green fuel for fueling not just the mobility industry in the future, but also heavy industry like the steel industry, the heavy carbonized industry, you could replace most of it with hydrogen and make it green. So there's going to be a big demand of huge industry assets that want to have access to hydrogen. And the best way to generate hydrogen would be with excess energy from wind and solar. So that is the new trend we are seeing coming. We have several projects in the pilot phase with players all over the world. One is Hydrogenics, a well-known company in the market in Belgium. We have the first 10 megawatt electrolyzer in operation. And that is the first wave we see after the battery now rolling in is the hydrogen wave. And after that, it's the power to heat. What we also see emerging in big cities like Berlin, where they have to shut down the carbon power plants that heated half of the city with their heating districts. Now they are shutting it down. It's the target of Germany to shut down all coal plants latest 2038. By then, somebody or something needs to heat those houses. And nothing better than using solar energy or wind energy to generate heat and then keep those heating systems alive that relied on coal, and we could now switch them over. So power to gas, power to heat, or power to X is going to be the future.
Well, yeah, interesting trends. This is a short interview. If we want to accelerate the renewable energy transition and get even more solar deployed, what do you see as the biggest challenge for this? Is this the permitting, the grid connections, the financing? How do you look at that?
I think financing is the least of the problems. I think there's money there, and meanwhile, a lot of companies and service providers are bankable in the renewable industry. Think of Vestas, the big wind industry, wind turbine makers. So there's bankability. I think financing is not the problem. Regulation, yes. Space and grid. So if you see in Germany, sorry for that, if you see in Germany, it's a limited amount of space available, but a good grid. So you maybe could try solar energy from outside of Germany, generate it somewhere else and then transport the energy here. We have the North Sea with a lot of wind access. So there's an option, but the decentralized generation of renewable power is going to be a big growth. And then you have the problem of transportation. So that's why we should decouple. The future would be fast if we could decouple the renewable power generation, wind or solar, convert it into something that's easy transportable like hydrogen, and then use the infrastructure that's already there from a gas distribution system to run the hydrogen to the same gas pipelines. So there are things we should decouple. Is definitely the generation, the consumption, and then the medium use storage the energy in. So permitting is an issue in Germany specifically, and then the distribution. You see Australia could build so much more power plants, renewable power plants, but they have a weak grid. They first have to stabilize their grid before they can add more renewable power. So it's a balance between wanting to advance fast and having the infrastructure to support it.
Thank you for this promising vision on the future of solar and in combination with hydrogen and storage. Thanks for this interview, and I hope to see you with one of our physical events, if possible, next year again.
Absolutely, Edwin. It was a pleasure to speak to you today.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.